for you this lesson from Unity of the Keys Spiritual Center. And so our lesson today, I've been very excited about this. I've been holding it in my mind, on my heart, in my meditation, as I chose this title several months ago, and then wanted to see what would arise from this parable. What would I want to share with you today? And it brought me to the question, what is worth everything? So Jesus taught in parables. That was one of the ways that Jesus conveyed his teachings to his followers. And parables are simply stories. They're powerful because they lend themselves to our personal understanding. They give us something familiar through examples to which we can relate. And they stir the imagination and help us to see the story as an actual event. Now, in the Bible, in the Christian scriptures in chapter 13, in the Gospel of Matthew, there's gathered together 7 distinct parables that Jesus used to describe the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven being that state of elevated spiritual consciousness that is within each one of us, that is within every one of us. The kingdom of heaven is a condition of the mind or a state of consciousness in which the mind, the body, and the soul are in harmony with divine mind. We're aware of divine mind. We're aware of that Christ consciousness. It's a state of being in the very essence of peace and love and harmony. We feel our connection with all that is. So the parables all make the same point, but each is designed for a specific group of listeners within the crowds that Jesus addressed when he would travel and he would be on the mountainsides and they would follow him. There were farmers and there were fishermen, there were housewives, and there were merchants. So the stories applied to their world, what they knew, the work that they did. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is like the treasure hidden in a field, which someone found and hid. Then, in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. On finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. That is all there is to that parable. And the metaphysical message beneath each parable is that achieving that kingdom of heaven consciousness is more important, more valuable than anything else. It is a treasure that is hidden within us. It's a pearl. It's a pearl of great value, worth more than all that we have gained or gathered in our human experience. It's a gift of the divine. Remember, we are 100% human and 100% divine. So within the treasure hidden in the field, our mind and our heart are the field. They contain the hidden treasure of spiritual identity that we discover when we learn, when we recognize, when we find ourselves, when we recognize ourselves as a child of the Most High, when we recognize our oneness with all that is. The treasure hid in the field is that logical truth that all that is belongs to all beings and can be brought forth by giving up looking for value in the world and instead looking within. Like a man who is a merchant seeking fine pearls, we are that merchant who is seeking the jewel of the soul, our spiritual good. And that pearl is pure spiritual understanding. So when we know the great worth of our spiritual understanding, we gladly give up everything that would hinder that realization of it. We go, we release it, we sell it, we trade it. What we also know is that there is no fee. There's no price tag. There's no money required for this realization, for this transformation. The kingdom of heaven, the realization of Christ consciousness, does not carry a fee. Now, we may have tried that. We bought the books, we acquired the video, the CD, the DVD, the MP4, the streaming platform, purchased a subscription to this or that, attended this workshop, that conference, this weekend retreat. And there can be great value in one or all of those avenues. And what we learn when we put the book down or we come home from the retreat is that it is still up to us. It is always up to us. No one can anoint us with Christ consciousness. No one can give us what we already have within us. And that's that inside job that I refer to often, because it's all inner work. It is all our work to do. Personal dedication to using, to practicing, to refining spiritual tools, and to committing to time in the silence in prayer and meditation to enrich our lives and the lives of the people around us. So let's look again at the parable of the pearl of great price. This is a short story. It's only a sentence or two long. And it has endured for centuries because it speaks to something timeless in the human experience. In its simplest form, it tells us of a merchant who spends his life searching for fine pearls. And one day he finds a pearl of such extraordinary value that he sells everything he owns to possess it. That's the whole story. There's no miracles. There's no commandments. There's no reward promised beyond the pearl itself. And yet, this short parable continues to echo across cultures and generations because it asks the question every human being must eventually face. What is truly worth everything? Now, the lesson of the parable of the pearl of great price is about meaning and clarity. It's about the moment in a person's life when something becomes so undeniably true, so deeply aligned that everything else in our life arranges itself around it. The merchant in the story is not a beginner. He is not someone who stumbles accidentally into wisdom. He's already a seeker. He knows pearls. He spent his life examining them, trading them, learning their subtle differences. So spiritually speaking, the parable honors experience. The merchant represents that part of us that has explored many paths: success, relationships, achievements, pleasures, identities, and failures, trying to understand what truly enriches our lives. Now, most people do not recognize what matters most to them immediately. We learn by contrast. We try one thing, then another. We sometimes chase things that seem promising at first: approval, security, excitement, control, status. And none of these are bad. Like the pearls the merchant already owns, they may even be beautiful and valuable, but they are not the pearl. This reframes the idea of wasted time. The years spent searching are not a mistake. They are preparation. Without them, the merchant would not recognize the pearl's true worth. That is the same for us. Without all the paths that we have traveled, we would not recognize when we came upon that which truly enlivened the love within us, that spiritual understanding. So spiritually, this reminds us to treat our past not with regret, but with understanding. What we have lived has trained our discernment. One striking detail in the parable is how quickly the merchant decides. There's no bargaining, there's no hesitation, there's no attempt to keep a few pearls just in case. He sees the pearl and he knows. Recognition is not gradual, it is instant. And this points to a deep spiritual truth. When something aligns with our deepest self, recognition is immediate. It does not require persuasion or need consensus. It bypasses logic and it goes straight to knowing, a knowing that resounds within our inner self, our self with a capital S. People often describe these moments in different ways. A sense of peace, a feeling of coming home, a quiet certainty. It may arise when someone discovers a calling, or forgives deeply, or finally lives authentically. These moments are not loud, but they are clear. So the lesson here is subtle but important. Confusion is a sign of misalignment. When something is right at the deepest level, it simplifies rather than complicates. The merchant does not become anxious, he becomes decisive. He knows exactly what he is to do. At first glance, the parable might sound extreme. The merchant sells everything he owns. From a practical perspective, this might seem reckless. But from a spiritual perspective, it is precise. The story does not say that he loses everything. It says he trades everything, and there's a difference. Spiritually, the cost of the pearl is not punishment. It is exchange, an exchange. To live life in alignment with what matters most, some things cannot come along for the journey. Old identities, false priorities, ego attachments, those old belief systems, those deeply rooted fears, they lose their relevance. This can be misunderstood as a sacrifice, but most people who have found their pearl describe the opposite, a sense of relief. What falls away was already heavy. It did not belong. The pearl does not impoverish the merchant. It clarifies him. And the pearl is singular. The merchant does not collect many pearls of equal value. There is one. There is but one. And this does not mean that life becomes narrow or rigid. On the contrary, life becomes focused. Energy that was once spent, dispersed, becomes available. Integrity replaces internal conflict. And there's no command in the parable. No authority figure tells the merchant what to do. The decision is entirely his or hers. For the pearl cannot be imposed, and it cannot be chosen out of fear or obligation. It must be freely recognized and freely chosen. This is why spiritual truths cannot be mass-produced. Each person's pearl may look different on the surface. Art, service, love, truthfulness, compassion, presence. But the experience of recognizing it is universal. Authentic transformation always comes from within. The parable notes that the merchant sells everything with joy. Joy is a spiritual compass. When alignment is real, even difficult actions carry a sense of rightness. This does not mean the process is painless, but it does mean it is meaningful. And this invites an honest question. What choices in my life feel heavy and which feel alive, even when they are hard? The answer often points toward or away from the pearl. And the parable does not end with the merchant enjoying the pearl, it ends with the choice. This suggests that the true teaching is not possession, but orientation, recognizing what is truly important. Spiritually, the pearl is not something we display, it is something we live from. It reshapes how we spend time, how we treat others, how we define success, day to day, minute by minute, and how we express love. These choices often look ordinary from the outside. The merchant does not become famous, he simply becomes whole. The parable of the pearl of great price does not demand belief. It offers a mirror and it asks each person gently and without judgment, if you were honest, what would you give everything for? Not because you were told to, but because you knew it was true. On this Sunday, the lesson is not to sell everything you own. It is to notice what already owns you, to notice what you protect, what you fear losing, what quietly shapes your decisions. And then, with patience and compassion for yourself, to ask whether any of it is the pearl, your pearl. For one day, each one of us recognizes our spiritual good clearly and unmistakably. And we have the courage of the merchant and the joy of alignment and the peace that comes from knowing that it is worth everything. And so it is. And so it is this day.